Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Let's see. It is Monday, October 16th, and I am working. And I just started a load of laundry, second load of laundry, and doing dishes. Not by hand. It's my baby. Hello. So I've got, let me close that. Close. So, doing some dishes, getting my kitchen clean. I had soaked this in this other bowl. Let me show. This bowl had some like rust kind of stains, and I soaked it in that Bon Ami, and it's all nice now. All those little rusty stains came off. So this is how my kitchen's looking at the moment, with my racks and all my clean dishes, and ignore that. My stove could be cleaned a little bit, but it's looking better. My birthday candles that I haven't washed yet, I want to save them. My new cup from my sister, how cute, but unfortunately it says don't microwave it. So and my goddamn drippy sink, I really need the plumber to fix it. So I am at work, working from home, and I'm listening to Alita Legal Bites, where every Monday she plays the Menendez brothers trial from 1993. Let me just plug in my lights.
What in the world was going on? What is happening? Why all this was happening?
Okay, were you trying to find out something?
So I really have to get back to work, and maybe this is a little bit too bright. Yesterday I was sitting here at night, and you could see all the lights. Now the sun is just blinding me. So I really don't have anything to say, to be honest, other than hello, it's Monday, and let me get out of this very, very bright spot where I can't see anything. Go back to my desk. Oh, that lighting is not the best. But hello, how are you? I'm just popping in to say I'm here, I'm working, I've got work. Just to pop in to say, if you have a very hard decision to make, I highly recommend Ruth Chang's video on YouTube, which I thought was life-changing, even though it's kind of like, when you listen to it, it's very like low energy, meaning it's not like pop, 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 pop. It sounds sort of dragged out and boring, but I find it to be unbelievably powerful. So I would just pop in here if you're interested in listening to that. If you immediately need help to make a hard decision, this is an amazing video.
Think of a hard choice you'll face in the near future. It might be between two careers, artist and accountant, or places to live, the city or the country, or even between two people to marry. You could marry Betty, or you could marry Lolita. Or it might be a choice about whether to have children.
So what's really powerful about that talk, in my opinion, is that she points out what may not always be obvious about making hard decisions, which is that different decisions, different choices are not always equal. And often one option has all these positives, but then it comes with negatives or cons, and those can be different than this other option. So I'm about to go into a few examples of hard choices and how there's different pros and different cons, and how those pros and cons are weighed differently. It's not always a one-to-one match kind of thing. It's, this one has these type of pros, but these different type of cons. And then this decision or choice will have a different set of pros and a different set of cons. And then your personal reasons for why these are more important and these are lower priority and these are, deal breakers I cannot live without, and these are, well, that would be nice, but it's, it's not that important. And sometimes we'll, like, there was an apartment I wanted to move into and it had a whole bunch of pros, but when I really realized, let me weigh my pros and cons by priority, all of the pros were superficial things and all of the cons were really deal breakers. So what I at first thought was an amazing apartment actually was a horrible apartment. And why it's your superpower, your personal superpower is your reasons, your specific reasons, your own reasons, your personal reasons, the reasons that you make up, the reasons that you discover. So, hold on. My beautiful mug. Let me see. I can't even see it. I don't know if that's upside down, to be honest. I can't even tell. Anyway, the things that matter to you are specific to you. The things that are important to you, the things that are your highest priorities, the deal breakers, that might be an absolute irrelevant to somebody else. And why your superpower is what your own reasons are, and basically discovering what your most important reasons are and not trying to weigh it or measure it against another person's priority list. Like, my priority is low to no commute. I like to work from home. I do not like having to be at a place in person, at least right now. That could totally change at any time in my life, depending on unknowns, depending on a lot of unknowns. I'm aware that could change, but at this moment, I'm trying to get my face in decent lighting, and I like to show that. At this moment, I love to work from home, and that is going to weigh very highly, like literally the number one thing is this a remote opportunity, or does it require that I am there in person? And then there are other people who working from home would be their worst nightmare because they don't like that. They're not suited for that. Okay. And so what your reasons are is so personal and specific to you. And that's what your superpower is, to learn to discern what your own reasons are and why your priorities are your priorities, and allowing yourself to have your own priorities and understand them will help you in making tough decisions, tough choices. And it can actually make what seems like an impossible choice crystal clear and easy, because once you start to discern what your priorities are, what your reasons are, and why this is a priority over this one, sometimes a higher paying job is not the best job. Sometimes the closer commute job is not the best job. There's a lot of things that go into choices, and how you have your own insight into what your reasons are, like what really truly matters to you. And that's another thing that's so important to mention, that many people have this priority list that they think is the list that they're supposed to have, because whoever decided for them at some point in their earlier life said, hey, these are the most important things in life. And so you need to have, like my mom used to say, you need to have good health insurance. That was so crucial to her. But I discovered that type of medical coverage, that type of medical care does not work for me at all. So the things that it covers are not what I go for anyway. I always have to pay out of pocket if I go to a particular practitioner because they're never covered under, allopathic medicine anyway. I mean, now that I have children, obviously it's different and they have insurance under their dad because he has that type of job. So it works out. But the fact is that one person's prioritized list is not going to be the next person's. And when someone tries to determine for you what your list of priorities ought to be, that is where conflict happens. And especially if it's your loved one, your mom, your dad, your spouse, your partner, a boss, a best friend. When we allow other people to determine what our priorities are supposed to be and we go along with it, we create a lot of misery and disharmony, and people can feel quite betrayed as well when you present that, these things are your priorities, but in truth, these other things are your priorities, and so it's mismatched. That's why learning what your priorities are, what your own priorities are, what your own reasons are for why things are your priorities, and allowing yourself to live in that truth, I believe, is a very powerful way to manifest a happier life. So just to say real fast, my children used to homeschool. I loved it. We got to make our own schedule. We got to make our own curriculum. They got to pick their own pace about how fast or how slow they did something. There was no homework because the homework, they did the schoolwork that they did and then they were done. They had less hours in the day that they were in an institutional setting having to be in school. There were a lot of benefits. We had complete freedom over our schedule. And like for example, they had a very long weekend and they started out with my birthday party and then they had like a family reunion and then there was a memorial and then there was like an after party. So they had like 4 huge events, and my younger son was so exhausted. He just wanted to stay home and rest today. And I was like, I cannot let you because you were sick for a whole week 2 weeks ago and you were out, and the public school was like getting worried and they're sending letters and they're calling and they're sending emails, and it's just like, God damn, he had a fucking cold with a little linger cough and he wanted to stay home. It's not a fucking, end of the world, but they're in the system now. But then at the same time, there's benefits that they're socializing a lot more. They've made friends. They're meeting different types of teachers and people in person. They're interacting. They're having to be physically involved instead of it just all being on the computer. Now they do still have computers and they still have to sit there on their laptop a lot of the day, but there's a lot more physical, in-person, one-on-one. So I don't like their schedule. I don't like at the time they have to get up in the morning. I don't like that my son doesn't really have a bus. There's like a lot of things about it that I say are cons, but the pros are, so it's different. It was a very difficult decision to make. And at the end of it, the choice was up to my children because I truly value homeschool education, but I also truly value socializing and friends and being able to meet and learn from a variety of people in person. So the choice was really up to them. I decided that I can support either option and I wanted them to choose. So they both decided, well, my older son decided he wanted to do high school in person, and then that created a new circumstance, which meant if my younger son chose to do homeschool, which was an option for him, it would mean that he was homeschooling just him and me in the house instead of having his brother there. And so that created a different situation. And he thought, well, you know what? I might as well go back to school too. And so they both made their choices for different reasons. But the ultimate thing that I got out of Ruth Chang's video, her TED Talk, is that the reasons that we make decisions are ours. They are very subjectively personal to us. And why you might decide to make one choice over another, why you might choose one career over another, one apartment over another, one partner over another, one car over another, is really truly up to you. And what matters to you is up to you. Like, my brother likes driving. So actually his job now, his company now, is he's a distributor. He likes driving so much that he made it his career. He used to be a photographer and he had to drive to do different things, but his job was photographer. And then he got a side job doing deliveries, and it became more lucrative, more profitable, abundant financially for him to do that. So he shifted away. He made the decision, you know what, I'm going to stop being a photographer, which he loves, because he loves to drive and this other thing is a lot more lucrative. And so he was able to do that. Where I went on a job interview to be a plant, like a horticulturist, basically going from company to company to company and taking care of their office plants. And on one hand, it would have been an amazing job, but I would have had to drive like an hour to each place, and it was always going to be on the highway. And the area that they wanted me to work in specifically is like the worst, like basically in the city. And I was like, no, there's no way. I do not like driving that much. I have PTSD with driving, and I absolutely hate getting on the highway. And there's no way in hell I would ever drive in that location. So it was like, there's no way I can do this job because I don't want to do all the driving, where for someone like my brother, that would have been no problem. So the point is that making decisions about your life is truly personal. And that's why two people as a couple very often will find that what works really well for one person is just an absolute deal breaker, no can do for the other person. And there's certain things that absolutely cannot be compromised on. There's certain lifestyles that are not compatible. And too often people think, I need to compromise for love. I need to sacrifice for love. But what you're compromising is your own happiness. And what you're sacrificing is your own ability to live the life that you want to. And how can that be love? That's obsession. That's fixation. That's giving it all away to somebody else because you don't believe you're good enough, or you don't think your dreams are valuable enough, or you don't think that you can do it on your own, or you don't believe you could find a more well-suited person for you. Now the lighting's getting bad again. So I highly recommend that video and popping out of the pop-in to back to the video. Wonderful. And I am also excited about getting some new clients, new insight coach clients. Do you need some insight in your life? Do you have a really big change coming up? Hold on, let me move. Do you have like a huge decision that you need to make? I'll go back over here. Okay. Do you have an extremely difficult choice to make or a decision to make, and you really, really could use some insight that is objective? Oh, not that, not blinding. Objective insight about your situation that can really help you to focus, to hone in, to recalibrate, or to make it more precise. Maybe you do know exactly where you want to go, or you've got a pretty good idea. So I am available to new clients who really truly need to talk it through with someone who can give you a really good bird's eye overview. And the other thing that I'm able to do is when I talk to people, I get a strong sense of maybe the unseen alignments that they don't realize. There's people say things all the time that reveal what you really think about a situation, a relationship, a job, a career, where you live. There's so many things that people are truly revealing about their mind state, belief systems, the view of yourself within the family system that you grew up in often becomes the worldview of yourself within the world system. And many times people are operating from that calibration and they don't realize that. Maybe you've been wired to believe things that are not actually true. They seem true to you because that's what you believe, and then that's what you receive. And then that reconfirms to you that your belief is true. And you could fill in any belief, and then you continue to tell yourself that, and then you receive those results, which then seems to confirm that self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, all men cheat. And then your guy cheats on you. See? Or I never get the job. And then you never get the job. See? Or I'm unlovable and nobody ever wants to love you. Or, the world is filled with liars and users. And then everyone you meet tends to lie to you and maybe use you. Or they never cheat on you, but you're always accusing them and you drive them away because you're excessively jealous and they can't take it. Or they never lie to you, but you accuse people of lying and you perceive that people are lying and you think people are using you or tricking you or conning you when all they really wanted was to have a good relationship, and you drove them away because basically if you think everybody's a cheater or a liar, the people who are not cheaters or liars, they're going to run like hell. And the people who are going to be like, cool, we're compatible. So the self-fulfilling prophecy is that a lot of times people have actual belief structures in there. They have a dialogue, a narrative that's constantly running in their mind, which is then generating your experiences. And what I'm able to do is to give you insight to reflect back to you what you're actually generating. What thoughts are you actually spewing out? A lot of times we think that we think a certain way, but when you have a conversation, you reveal that you don't actually people believe that they should be a certain way or they should think a certain way, but they don't actually think that way. Or somehow you think that the rules don't apply to you, that you are the exception. That's actually a very strong Buddhist teaching, that many people believe I'm the exception. So believing that you're the exception to the rule is actually quite common, because most people know instinctively, well, true love is mutual, and in order to be happy, both people need to have made the commitment mutually, and that's obvious. That's the rule. The rule is that true love is a two-person investment, and relationships take too, and they take communication, and compatibility is everything. So if you're not compatible, it's not going to work. So that's the rule. But then there's a million people out here believing that they can somehow, maybe it's more than a million, they can somehow be different. They can manifest a happy, loving relationship with the person that's not interested in them. Like me, I believed for a long time that somehow, even though he, my wrong SP, was off living his own life happily without me, with absolutely no intention of joining my life again, but yet, I held on to this belief that, well, somehow it's going to be different for me. Somehow I'm the exception to the rule. And there's a lot of things that we do in our lives where we know the truth of how the thing should be in order for it to be the right thing, but we somehow believe we're the exception, and so we think we can somehow do it differently. Like, example, you want to be healthy, physically fit, but you don't eat healthy foods and you don't exercise, and you day after day do the things that cause you to gain weight and to not have muscle, to not gain muscle. You don't do any of the things that you know that you need to do, and then somehow you still bitch and complain and moan, or you hate your body. Like, hey, I gained like 30-40 pounds in 2020 to 2022, and I fucking hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I said, well, I've been doing all the things that I know make me gain weight, and I haven't been doing the things that I know make me fit. And so I said, well, I have to make this commitment to myself. I have to commit to myself that I'm going to do these things. And I'm not an exception. It's not going to be different for me. I'm not going to get healthy just because I somehow think I'm an exception to the rule. So what did I do? I stopped eating a lot of junk food late at night, and I started walking more. And yeah, I'm not like the fittest. These are all very baggy clothes, but the scale is now 30 pounds less. So I knew what I was doing that was causing the problem, that I felt was a problem. And I knew the solution, and I knew that I'm not the exception. I have to just do the thing. That's how you make the changes. That's one thing. So let's say the rule is, in order to have a healthy body and a healthy weight, you need to eat healthy fruits and vegetables and grains, unless you're celiac, and drink water and get some fresh sunlight, unless you have some kind of skin disease. You get vitamin D from the sun. Eat your vitamins, not meaning pills. You eat fruits, you eat whole foods, eat vegetables, eat organic. That's where you're going to get all your nutrients. So it's easy to know that. A healthy body comes from healthy food, healthy amount of activity. Most people know that. If you were to go up and ask 5,000 people, how does a person, what is the general way of getting healthy? Eat right and do exercise. And also be careful about what your thoughts are. Don't think poisonous thoughts. Some people don't know that your thoughts are actually what you're consuming as well. But just because most of us know that doesn't mean that that's what we actually do. That's the route that we take, or that we practice that behavior. So just because you might actually know the answer doesn't mean that you practice that behavior. And sometimes we're not aware of our unseen beliefs, our unseen alignment, the deeper truth of our unseen alignment that's actually creating our behaviors and our relationships, and we're not aware of that because we think we believe one thing and we're not aware of the actual machinations of the cogs and the wheels going on beneath the surface. So when I speak to someone, I'm actually able to discern this is what they're saying they think and feel and want, because that's what they think. That's what they think they want and feel. That you know what you want and feel, but however, you might not be aware of what you're really thinking and feeling, which will come out in our conversations. And as an insight coach, I am able to reflect that back. And that is insight that sometimes you cannot see just by talking to yourself in your own mind. That's why writing your thoughts down, or even more, saying them on a video and finding out. Now, I'll tell you, it took me years to uncover one of my deepest unseen truths of alignment, which was that I thought I wasn't naturally a neat and tidy person, but that was actually caused by a lot of unhealed trauma underneath, that it was all based on fear and what home triggered in me, the fears that it triggered in me. So because I wanted to make this short, I did get a little bit on a roll, but if you're interested in hiring me as an insight coach, you can check the links below. There's a lot of different ways that we can connect, and I am available, and I am looking forward to meeting you and giving you some insight into your situation. Well, it's a beautiful day and I'm running out to meet my son at the bus stop. He just texted. I just saw the bus. So I'm just walking to meet him because I can, and post the video after I got some work done, feeling good about it, and see you later. Bye. So with that, I'm going to leave this here, and I hope that was helpful or at least entertaining, and see you in the next one. Bye.